By the 1400s, coffee was already known in Mecca, and then it slowly made its way in different places. In the early 1500s, the first myriad coffee shops were opening in Cairo, and then later this trend moved to different cities, going to Baghdad, Damascus, Aleppo, and Constantinople. The chief religious authority during the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, Sheikh al-Islam Abu Saud Effendi, issued a fatwa or a decree against drinking coffee. According to historian Rafiq Ahmed Sevengil, it was the year 1543 when the ships had arrived in this port in Karaköy, and because of the fatwa, the coffee beans were dumped into the sea. It was only when Bostanzadeh Mehmed Effendi became Sheikh al-Islam in the late 16th century that he wrote a fatwa or a decree in a very poetic form, abolishing all groundless suspicions regarding the drinking of coffee. We are now in what might have been the first coffee shop of the Ottoman Empire, opened in the year of 1555 by two very good friends from the area of Sham or Levant. Hakam al-Dimashqi and Shams al-Halabi opened their first coffee shop in the capital of the Ottoman Empire, Istanbul. By the 16th century, by the end of it, there was more than 600 coffee shops in the Ottoman Empire's capital. And by the end of the 19th century, there was more than 2,500 coffee houses in Istanbul and across the country. That shows us how popular this beverage was around the empire. This is what could have been one of the first ever coffee roasteries in the Ottoman Empire, central in Istanbul. In the 17th century, Ottoman historian Ibrahim Pechevi writes about coffee shops and what he saw. He says that there would be people in different circles of pleasure seekers and people of literature. These groups would be of 20 or 30 people. They would be doing different things. Some would be talking about new poems and literature. Some would like to play chess or backgammon, and some others would just look at some fine writings or books. Coffee and coffee houses were now the center of many activities around the Ottoman Empire. There were specific coffees for specific groups of people. There used to be coffee shops and coffee houses for mutasawwifin, for people of literature, for janissaries, for specific tariqas, and for specific groups of people. And we're now sitting in one of the oldest coffee shops in Istanbul, and this place used to be a madrasa. So this place was probably a coffee house for the people of knowledge. It is also recorded that these coffee houses would be either barber shops or theaters at the same time. Many activities would happen in these places. That's why obviously this would be a very good spot for people of the royal family or for officers to come and visit, obviously masked, because they wanted to hear the concerns and the opinions of the public. When they came to these places, they obviously felt scared. That's why the coffee ban was introduced a couple of times during the Ottoman Empire. Later in history, things would take a change. Europeans now had discovered coffee and they wanted to have more of it. But this meant a big deal for the Ottoman Empire and the Muslim world in general. not only because it would disrupt the business, but it also because this would become maybe the start of colonialism. By the end of the 19th century, there was an apparent crisis in Istanbul because of coffee. There was not enough coffee coming from Yemen because the maritime business of the Ottoman Empire had been disrupted. And now, Istanbulians were having a very hard time to actually find good coffee. What was happening is that people would mix coffee beans with chickpeas and different types of nuts, roasting it and deceiving people when serving them coffee. At a certain point, the price of the coffee was so high that very, very few people could actually afford coffee. By the end of the reign of Sultan Abdul Hamid, it was only himself that actually could afford Yemeni coffee, and he had a special box of 40 kilograms of coffee brought from Yemen. And apart from him, almost no one in the Ottoman Empire could afford to drink Yemeni coffee.